Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video I will share with you a wonderful bag recipe that I prepared with spaghetti yarn, paper yarn, and baby cotton yarn. I want to show you the model like this. Look, it is really neat and very beautiful. Let's see the base. It has a rectangular base. It is very easy to make and complete. I have shared with you the making process and the dimensions step by step. Look, our bag is made entirely of single needle. Look, I want to show it on the other side. It is really neat and beautiful. Let's look at the handle detail. I prepared a handle like this, but you can also knit different handles. It doesn't have to be a knitted handle. You can also use leather handles or ready-made handles. I want to show it right on the inside of the bag. Look, if you want, you can use it directly like this, or you can use the lining inside and a snap zipper on the mouth to close it as you wish. This is entirely up to your taste. It was really beautiful. As I said, I shared all the details in the video. You can find how much rope I used, the number and size of our bag, step by step in the video. Before moving on to our detailed recipe, I would like to make a small request from you. You can subscribe to our channel for free. I would be really happy if you like the video and leave your comments. This bag is also suitable for daily use, also suitable as a beach bag. You don't necessarily have to work in these dimensions. You can work larger or you can work smaller. As I said, all the details are available in the video. Now we can move on to our recipe. I used 3 strands of spaghetti yarns paper yarn for my bag. I want to share the feature of the rope with you right away. You can see the mixture in the texture of 100% paper weight in the range of 130, 150 grams, 250 meters long. Again, I will add the link of the color I used in the description section below. You can look at it from there. And I used 1 piece of spaghetti yarn from baby cotton yarn. Let's look at the properties of this one. Its weight is 50 grams. It is 120 meters long. Its content is 50% cotton and 50% acrylic. Look closely at 9. It is a very beautiful yarn. 1 bowl of it will be enough to cancel it. The threads I used here are spaghetti. I would like to share a nice discount news for my subscribers from Yarn and Spaghetti Yarn. You can complete your shopping with a 10% discount with the Volkan 10 code, which you can use for purchases of 100 teraliters or more from spaghettiyarn.com. I would like to thank the Spaghetti Yarn family for this nice discount. Look, I have knitted and completed my bag up to this stage. I want to show the base like this. We will prepare a rectangular base. Now I will be sharing the numbers and measurements in centimeters with you step by step. For my rectangular base, I started with 41 chains and I increased my base by knitting 10 rows and I got a rectangular base. Here the longest side is 33 centimeters from my base. The measurement of the shortest side is 11 centimeters. The wall and depth of my bag were 30 centimeters. If you do not have to make it in these sizes, we can make it with the same numbers. We can use the same yarn and the same crochet number, but your measurement may be a little less or a little more. This will vary depending on our knitting frequency and looseness. It is also worth mentioning this. Once you understand the logic of the bag, you can prepare it in any size you want. In order to change the size of the bag, it will be enough to play with the number of chains here. You can prepare your bag in the size you want by pulling less and more chains according to your rope. Now I want us to immediately move on to describe our model. When working with paper thread, my crochet number was 3 millimeters. You can determine your own crochet number according to the thinness and thickness of your own yarn and the tightness and looseness of your knitting. Now, in order to explain the model more easily, I will use spaghetti yarn and cotton macrame yarn. As I said, I gave the numbers here. We start by making 41 chains and prepare our rectangular base by knitting 10 rows. Now I will be describing our model in a smaller example. Let's start right away. It is very easy to make. We now know how to knit a rectangular base. If you want, you can even knit this bag with ready-made bases. It doesn't have to be a knitting base like this. It is also worth mentioning this. You can make such changes according to your taste. Now we start pulling our chains. Here I started with 41 chains. Now, since I will describe a smaller example, I am drawing some chain. The number doesn't matter. Here you can prepare as many chains as you want, in the length you want and the size of your bag. Now we have drawn some chain here. Then I turn the reverse part of my chain, not the straight part. I leave the last chain and sink into the back cut line of another chain. Look, we will use these points. We prepare our single needles by sinking into these parts, and I leave the last chain and sink into the back cut line of another chain and remove a stitch. You have 2 stitches. I wrap them and knit a single needle. I sink into the back cut line of another chain and remove a single needle. Now we proceed by knitting our single needles like this until the end of the row. Now, when we come to the last chain here, look at this last chain. I'm going down the back cut line. First, I knit one single crochet. I put this short rope in between and look, I'm sinking into the same chain. I'm sinking into the last chain and knitting a second single crochet at this point again. Then I take the short rope to this side and come to the same chain and knit the third one. I am knitting my single crochet. Look, we knitted 1 or 2 or 3 single crochets for the return. Now we have moved to the opposite side. Look right here, the bottom part of the single crochets. Now the chains here will appear on the crochet hook like this. Look like this. We will work our single crochets by sinking into these parts. There are 3 single crochets at the last point. There are 3 single crochets at the other points. We knit 1 single crochet on each other. You can also work the bag with cotton macro threads. You can work with RF thread. Even when I saw the original bag, it was worked with RF thread, but it turned out really nice with paper thread. Now I come to the last point. Look, I sink to the point where the last single needle is. I knit 1 or 2 single needles. I knitted 2 single needles. When we started, we knitted 1 single crochet. Look, 1, 2, 3. When we started, we knitted 1 single crochet because by sinking into the bottom of the single needle and knitting 2 needles right at the point where this single needle is, we obtained 1, 2, 3 single needles. Now we have completed the sequence here. Now you can insert a safety pin into the body of this second single needle to make the ending and the beginning clear. Let's attach a safety pin to the second single needle of the last single needle we knitted on the body so that we can see the end and the beginning. Now I'm sinking right at the top of the first single needle that comes here. I knit 3 single needles, 1, 2, 3. Corner increases will be made with 3 single crochets. I come to each other and knit 1 single crochet. Look, I'm knitting 1 single crochet at each of the points on the straight edge and the long edge. At this stage, if you think I knitted too fast, you can slow down the video or, on the contrary, watch it by speeding it up. Now we cross the other points with 3 single crochets. And now look, I've come to the first point where there are 1, 2, 3 single crochets. I knit 3 single crochet stitches into the first of the triple crochet stitch, 1, 2, and 3, 1 for the second. The third one has 3, 1, 2, 3, look, 2 triple corners. These are the increase points we need for the rectangular base. Now I knit the others one by one. I pass this point by knitting 1 single needle on each of the single needles on the long side. Follow. Here is my last single needle and I put it on the hook until the previous single needle. The second single needle we knit is the same crazy. Now the single needle of the 3 here is the point before the last single needle we knitted. I am knitting 3 single needles, 1, 2, 3, and now the last single needle we knitted. I put it on the hook, put a single needle into the top, and knit a single needle. I complete my row. Look, we have 4 increasing corner points. We have 4 corners on the rectangular base, 3, 3, 3, 3. Now let's continue. We came to the triple crochet. Look, we knitted this last single needle. We can take out the safety pin and insert it into the headspace of the last single needle we knitted. But once you attach it to its body, you won't have to take it off again. Because when we follow the top gaps, we can easily see where we last sank. Now here is a single crochet that we made in 3, 1, 2, or 3 increments. 1 for the first, 3 for the second. We will always do this from now on. 1, 2, 3, 1 to another. And look at the others. I knit 1 single crochet on each of the single crochets on the long side and proceed to the point where my triple crochet is allowed. And look, we have come to the point where there are 3 single crochets in the same space. We complete the rectangular base by knitting 3 single crochets in the first one, 1 each time, and from now on, when we see the triple, 3 single crochets in the second one, and applying it in the 4 corners. one for 3 others, one for the single remaining single crochet in the middle, look at 1, 2 triple crochets, 1 for the first, look at the second of the 3, 3 immediately for the second one, 2, 3. We will complete our row by knitting 1 for the others like this. There are no joints, etc. We proceed by knitting our single needles in a direct spiral fashion. I came to the point where the threesome was again. I knitted 3 stitches on the second single needle. We prepare the rectangular base by knitting a single needle into the other one and a single needle into the top of our last single needle. See, this is how we prepare the rectangular base. It happens quite regularly. Especially when you use this starting technique, there is no clarity. You can use this in all your work. Now, by knitting 3 single crochet stitches in the second of the 3 at the corners and making increases in all 4 corners, we enlarge our base to the size we want. As I said, I started with 41 chains and knitted by increasing my base by 10 rows. What did I do next? Well, now here comes the trick. Look, it is very important for the single needles to overlap in this model. Look, I will show you the wall part. When you look at it, the single needles are on top of each other. There is a very important tip here. There is a trick I use to prevent our frequent needles from falling to the right and to ensure that they fall smoothly on top of each other. I learned this through experience. If you know different methods, of course you can do that too. It doesn't slip at all in some hands, but we see that some of them are really too right-leaning. Single needles spin weird. We don't want this. This much. There is a good tip for prevention. You should also pay attention to this while knitting. For example, when we knit by constantly pulling in this way, the single needles move towards the right. But I think I can explain this more easily when we move on to knitting our single needles. Knitting a little towards this side normally look like this. Now what do we do here? Our starting and ending point is clear. We have enlarged the base sufficiently. Now we will continue to knit by knitting only single crochet. Normally when we knit, we unknowingly pull from here and stretch the stitches to the right while removing them. In fact, in order for the single needles to fall smoothly, it is beneficial to push the knitting to the right and move the crochet hook slightly to the left. When you do it this way, you will see that your single needles do not slip at all. You will notice this when you hold it in your hand and apply it. We open the knitting. We also stretch while opening. When we stretch it, it tends to the right, especially when we stop it from time to time and look at it by smoothing it with our hand. This is what you shouldn't do. Look, especially when working with paper, we will now knit single needles like this and proceed in a spiral manner. But we knitters have a habit. We knit a little like this. Then we stop and check. We always do hand ironing while checking. Some models really need hand ironing. It is necessary to do. Hand ironing is also important to control the order and see whether we proceeded correctly or incorrectly. But you shouldn't do this when working with single crochet. In other words, while knitting the wool, it is necessary not to touch the wool until we finish knitting the knitting perfectly, without doing any leveling, without ironing, without pulling our hands so that you can see that the single needles fall in such an orderly way, without opening our knitting in our hands, leaning a little to the left, not by pulling the knitting like this. Because we pull it lightly so that the yarn comes, we will not do this anymore. Look like this, it is leaning to the left. That is, we will complete our knitting without pulling too much. As I said, we do not do hand ironing, we do not open it while checking the knitting, we do not iron. We touch our knitting until the wall is finished. For example, you will take breaks in between, and when we take breaks, we will do it almost smoothly. Don't do it at all until the wall is finished. Now look, I finished my wall. I knitted it until it was 30 centimeters. I will not give the number of rows here. This may vary from hand to hand. This is what we do. Look, my second ball of yarn is finished here to finish. I knitted my bag handle with the third ball of yarn. Almost because since I knitted a long stem, we will have a paper rope left over, consisting of a tight needle, that is, a little more than half a ball of yarn. Now look here, I came to the last points by knitting such frequent needles. Now here, the whole process of our bag starts at this stage. Now we will determine these edge parts of our bag. Look here, we will start knitting with cotton thread. Before knitting, we must make the points we will knit clear. Let's do this together. Now look here, we will make a rectangular shape. We have prepared a base. We will knit again on the long edges of this rectangular base. First, we need to determine the part of the points we will knit on the wall. If the single needles are perfectly arranged on top of each other, there is no need to do this, but no matter how neatly we knit, look, since it has a rectangular base, the mouth of the bag is more open than the base. I want to show it like this. Look, while the base is narrower like this, there will be an opening at the mouth because there is room at the edges. What are we going to do to make this work properly? Look, let's show it from this side right here. Now here I will take the 11 centimeters measurement again. Look, I'm measuring from the point where we increased, that is from the 10th row. 11 centimeters equals exactly 11 centimeters. Look at this with safety pins. Our safety pins. See this right here. In the second of the three, I attach my safety pin to the body part at the point where the single needle is. This is just the edge part. Here again, look at this second point. This point is exactly the corner part. Now these ends, I made it clear. What do I do next? Look, the measurement in between is very important to me. I'm coming here like this. Let's even open it. The point we will fold. I'm having trouble fitting the screen. It's a bit of a big bag. Look, I fold it like this. Look, there is a slight incline. I made it smoother at the top. I'll fold it like this. I do hand ironing. You can also steam iron if you want. Maybe it'll be easier then. We can do that too. Now I fix it like this. Look, I made this edge smooth with my hand from the point where the needle is on the hook. Then the other end is the same way, but when I pay attention here, look at this 11 centimeter. I adjust it by eye so that it is not more or less. I do hand ironing like this. See, full from corner point. I'm making it clear. Look, now we're going to cross these edges with single crochet like this. Now I'm going to do the same process on the other side. There's no need to show it again. I'm going to repeat the exact same process I did here, and I'm going to try to maintain the measurement in centimeters here. Look, 11 pantams. In fact, it's almost close to 12 centimeters. Look at these holes. Look, it's 11.5 centimeters like this. It is in the range of 11.5 centimeters. Again, I need to measure the points I folded on this side. Look, I increased it a little bit, about half an inch. It has increased by about an inch. I continue like this. A little bit higher up. Look, I increased it by an inch like this. See, here's the straight comment. Considering that it continues like this, just click here. I am making the hand base again by decreasing the size. I am trying to establish the centimeter. Look, the centimeter on the base should be the same as the end centimeter there. You can do it like this. Maybe many different techniques can be used, but please tell me this, or when I iron the pile with steam, these 2 points should coincide. These two ends should coincide exactly centimeters. Now I will do hand ironing here, but I want to iron these edges thoroughly with this iron and make them clear. Then let's move on to the knitting process. Look at the process I did here. I will apply the folding process exactly on this side, then I will move on to knitting. Now look, we first ironed the edges here and made them clear. We applied the same process to both edges. Look, the points we will knit with the iron trace are now clear. What did we do next? Since we lay these parts like this and let steam over them, deterioration occurred here. What did we do in the end? After ironing the edges, we finally flattened our bag by ironing the inside. By the way, it is also worth noting this. After knitting the base, look, we knit the base and finish it. After knitting the sole, we iron the sole first. Because after knitting the wall part of the bag, it will be difficult to iron the bottom from the inside and will ruin it from the outside. So after finishing the base first, we iron it with steam, and then we move on to knitting the wall part. Let me also point this out. Now we will move on to knitting. I'm going to go over the black edge. Look, I'm starting by creating a loop with a chain here again with the black cotton thread. Look, I'm going to start from the tip here and go down. I'm going to do it one more time and repeat like this. I'm going to go to this point. Look, in order to see clearly, look at it from the point where the hook is. It will continue. I want to sink immediately. I want to sink into the line on the body of the single needles. Look, we have created our loop. I am sinking to the front body point here and to the body point of the single needle right next to it. I am knitting single needles opposite each other. You can sink deeper here when we look. It's not a big deal. We're actually making a transition from our black color to a different color here. Look, the important thing is that they stay straight like this. Look, I will move forward. And let's not cut this part. I think this is important, smart. The most questions can remain at this point. Since we made this trilogy, look, I'm moving the single needles from the ironed part. But look here, I follow the single needles straight. But as I go down, I shifted my knitting a little bit. What am I going to do here? I'm sinking into the opposite wings of the single needles there. But when I come here, I'm going to sink these two into the body. Look, I'll slide this side down, like this. Look, let's come to this part. I want to share with you the difference I made here. We proceeded by knitting our single needles here, and the papers were sinking in the single needles standing side by side. But now the knitting is slightly sliding downwards. Now I took one wing of the single needle, I take it on the other wing of the single needle. This time I put it on the other single needle. I don't sink, I leave it because look, there is a little slippage at this point. This is how we compensate for this slippage. In fact, the knitting is not disturbed again. Look, I sink the two channels in the same way, but I sink into the channel of the single needle. Normally we would take the wings of two single needles one by one and knit them. Now we are progressing by knitting both wings at once. So look, the shift here is not very noticeable. Now it has slipped a little more. What will I do now? I will look at the channel of the other single needle and see if it bleeds like I did in the beginning. But as I said, if you are careful about ironing, if you bring such frequent needles with decoration, your job will be much easier. But this is not a problem and it works very well. Look, when we look at it this way, there is almost no noticeable shift. Look at this way, we are moving all the way to the bottom. Look, we've now come to the point where the safety pin is, as we have described to you. Now look, I'm at the top of the increase point. Now I'm right at the top of this single needle. I'm taking this off now. And here and there, I'm going in at the body point. I'm knitting my single crochet. I'm going to make a single chain here so that it doesn't get tight. Now look, we're going to move forward by knitting single crochets, by dipping into the spaces between the single crochets. I'm going in right here. Single crochet, look at the inner parts of the crochet needle. I'm going to pierce the single crochet like this. I'm sinking into the body part of the single needles. It's 11th place. Base next, I'm going to cross it completely with single crochet. This is what we're doing for all of this. There may be questions. If you want, you can use number 2.5 at this stage. Hold your hand a little loosely to sink comfortably. This blood is like this. I hope the inner parts with those frequent needles are understandable. I will continue this. Look, we started from here. There is no different process in the whole corner, one single crochet in each corner. Maybe you can pull a chain to prevent it from tightening. It's right in the corners. We will knit like this and frame the base completely with single crochet. At this point, finish and look at the other edges as I showed here. We will do exactly the same process as we did here. As I said, this looks quite magnificent. After framing the base, we will finish our bag by cutting the thread here and starting from here and doing the same process on the other two parts. We will immediately move on to the mouth part, and I will share with you how we do this mouth part. Look, we have completed all 4 edges here in the same way, starting from this end to the vertical part of the row. Now I want the last part there so that we can finish it together. Look, after sinking to the last point, I draw a chain at the point like this. I want to show you this point. Look at this point. After knitting a single crochet in the last section and making a chain like this, I cut my rope, leaving it a little long. I take it out of the loop and then I pass it through the point where the single needles we knitted are at the bottom. I am strengthening this point with a chain from here again. We will also fix this rope by hiding it by passing this short rope in between. Now look, all 4 sides are finished. I want to show our bag like this. Look, the points we shifted can be seen slightly if you look very carefully, but we will iron them now anyway. These spots will not stand out at all. But as I said, if your single needles overlap each other, take a look here for almost a long time. I have already shown you in detail without skipping. We can go down smoothly like this. Look, the important thing here is to go up in the same way as the shortest edge, as well as the shortest part we have obtained on the base. That is, look at this base. We accept it as a measurement. We knitted and completed these edges as well as the base. Now that we ironed it this way, look, the edges look very sharp like this. Now iron it again. Look at these parts again by ironing them from the inside. I will open them like this by ironing them with a steam iron from the inside. Look, the edges will become open. Then now I will knit the mouth part as well. I will make the last trilogy. Now I want to show this part here too. Look, we finished by knitting single needles in a spray way. This is our finishing edge here. After knitting the last single needle, look at the other needle. We insert the next single needle here, take out the stitch and slide it from the other stitch. I cut the thread here enough. Look like this. I took the thread out from this side, I dip it in the same point again, and take the thread inside, then I will hide this thread too. Look, the end and starting point is not clear at all, it doesn't work. Now we will move on to knitting the mouth part using the purl single crochet technique. Here I take my black thread again. I'll start from this end. We can end here and start here, or you can start anywhere you want. I'll start from the corner. Look, I'm sinking into the single needle right here, black. I'm sinking from the point where I started. I'm knitting single needle directly, taking this short thread in between. Let's hide it now. Look, it's the top point of this. I'm coming backwards and removing a stitch from here. I'm knitting a single crochet again. Look backwards. We're going to knit our single crochets. I'm sinking backwards and sinking to the top of the next single crochet. Let's keep this thread on the crochet hook backwards. Let's remove a stitch from this point and knit the single crochet backwards. I'm sinking at the top. Look, I'm hiding the short threads at this stage. Single needle next. Look backwards. I'm sinking at the top of the single needle, taking the tip of the crochet hook from here and removing it. There are 2 stitches. Look at this point. We have 2 stitches like this, and the single needle is like this. We will knit the entire mouth of our bag by inserting it into the top of each single needle once, going backwards and using reverse single needle, and finishing at the point where we started. We will now move on to placing our handles in our bag. Look, we finished our bag here and finally gave it its final shape by steam ironing the entire interior. Now I have previously shared the recipe for our stems with you. There will be those who remember. I want to show the handle like this, self-filled, a very nice handle. I will add the link to the recipe in the description section below. You can access it by clicking there. While we were preparing our stems, we left short ropes like this at the beginning and end for sewing. Now we will mount this on our bag by balancing it properly with the help of Etam's needle. We completed it by attaching our tassel to our bag. Our recipe was like this. I wish good luck to those who will make it. Do not forget to like our video, leave a comment, subscribe to our channel. Goodbye until we see you in the next video.